Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to our board meeting tonight. There seems to be some electricity in the air. We have some dignitaries with us tonight that we're going to introduce and that we're all most proud of. So thank you all for coming tonight. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like the LaGrange Park All-Stars to lead us. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, will you call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Here.
Trustee Rocco?
Here.
Trustee Sheehan is absent. Trustee Casera?
Here.
Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zora? Here. President DeCipio?
Here.
Quorum is present, sir.
So this is one of the privileges that I have, is to introduce our dignitaries tonight. You guys did something that really was never done in LaGrange Park before. And I want to commend you on all the effort you put in, your coaches, and mostly your parents, who sacrificed a lot for you guys to be able to do what you did. And I think you need to thank them because I know they're most proud of you also. So tonight we would like to provide a special recognition to LaGrange Park Little League's 11 and under All-Star team, who worked hard together to become this year's District 9 champion. This in turn earned them a shot at the state championship in late July, which was held in Freeport. As I understand it, the team consists of 14 players, many of whom have played together in the neighborhood for a long time and have fondly become known as the Sandlot Crew. Is that true? At the state tournament, the team persevered and played extremely well. There, they were the team that displayed what matters most, and that is perseverance. I read that coach told you, keep fighting through it and never give up. And that is just what you did, and all that while exhibiting profound sportsmanship. And as a result, you made LaGrange Park very proud. We are delighted that you are here with us this evening. We ask that the team come up to receive your proclamations when I call you. And we'd like to hear a few words from the coaches about this extraordinary team. Now, I played Little League in LaGrange Park, ways back. I coached my son in Little League. We made it to the district championship, but never won. You guys have exceeded and will go down in the record books as the only team in LaGrange Park that won the District 9 championship and went to state. I can tell you that for the rest of your lives, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember your time in Freeport and getting there, and you'll remember your coaches for all that they sacrificed and what they taught you along the way, which was leadership, sportsmanship, and to treat other people as you would like to be treated. So with that, I'd like to call you up one by one, and I will read the proclamation that you will receive tonight. Whereas the sport of baseball, which has expressed the heart and character of America for many years, has been properly recognized as our nation's pastime. Whereas the LaGrange Park Little League 11-year-old All-Stars, affectionately known as the Sandlot Crew, is comprised of 14 outstanding youths in our community. Whereas LaGrange Park Little League All-Stars made history in their achievement of advancing to the state tournament. And whereas the LaGrange Park Little League All-Stars team exemplifies not only the willingness to work hard to achieve success, but also exceptional sportsmanship in their support and encouragement of one another. And whereas it's fitting that we recognize not only the players, but the managers, coaches, officials, parents, umpires, and countless others who work together to provide valuable training and life lessons for its participants. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village of LaGrange Park urges our citizens to join us as we extend our sincere congratulations for a great team effort. To LaGrange Park 11 under All-Stars, congratulations. So it gives me great honor to recognize you and to call you up one by one. After you guys receive your certificates, then I'm going to ask the coaches to come up and say a few words. Blake White. Lonnie Roberts. Matt Peterson. Luke Nicholas. Joe Gaitis. Mac Long. Gavin Wolf. Christian Zaragoza. Connor Ray. Matt Klaczynski. Tess Burson. Quinn Tullis. Michael Kasner. And AJ Jones. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Everyone get called? Okay, so the coaches. Ralph White, would you please come up? Connor White, would you please come up? And Bill Roberts. So you're the coach.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. DeCipio and the Board of Trustees and Village Management for the invitation tonight. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. In regards to the team, one thing I would say that, and you touched on it about caring, this team actually loves each other. I mean, that was prevalent throughout the last 4 years for coaching most of these kids that have been playing together, with the Sandlot stuff. They've grown to love each other, and it's apparent in the way they play and the way they hold each other up, and just great to see. Their character is most prevalent. One of the opposing coaches throughout the season came up after the game, after we won the tournament, and said, "You guys are the gold standard of Little League baseball." Testament to these kids. Throughout the tournament run, every single one of them did something that caused us to win a game, win an inning. It was great. It was great to see.
Thank you guys for having us all here. And kids, I'm just so unbelievably proud of you. You never cease to amaze us all. One of the things that we've talked about is there's no cliques on the team. Practices, games, we always start the same way. We have different partners to begin every practice, every game. There's never, I'm with so-and-so every game. They're truly a great group of kids. And thank you, parents. Kids, how many outs are there? None.
So, young gentlemen and lady, I think you can see how emotional this can get. Coaches were very, very into this and emotionally involved in it, because this is one of the events in your life where you never want to see it come to an end. You want to continue and continue. But unfortunately, it did come to an end, but you have a lot of great memories. You had a lot of success, and I hope that you take that success and leadership that you learned from your coaches and your parents and carry that forward into your school and into whatever life brings you down the road. You're all successful people, young men and women. You've learned a lot. You've learned what success is, and you've learned what hard work is. Continue that forward. And I can tell you from speaking for the board, for our staff, for our community, again, we are most proud of all that you've accomplished and the way you carry the LaGrange Park name. Thank you.
Congratulations, awesome. First rodeo.
Got it. Beautiful. Thank you. Good job, guys.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're seasoned veterans in photo taking.
Not their first ball game.
Right, exactly.
God bless you. Okay, next on the agenda is public participation. Would anyone care to address the board?
Yeah,
Ma'am, we're going to make an exception, so you don't have to sit through the whole meeting. I know you have a busy schedule. If you would care to address the board at this time?
Check, check. Emily, close the door.
My name is Stephanie Belinko. I live at 627 Barnesdale in the Grange Park. Do I need anything else? Okay. I am here because there has been a bill passed in the, on Capitol Hill, H.R. 3053, and it will hit the Senate someday probably, and it's in regards to moving high-level radioactive waste. A lot of this will probably come through Illinois, mostly through Chicago. For instance, Zion has closed, as we all know, and they want to move that waste to temporary storage facilities. We are of the belief that they shouldn't move it until they have a permanent repository, because when they do that, they are exposing people along the way to possible dangerous accidents. And once that stuff leaves Zion, they aren't on the hook anymore for it. The taxpayers are on the hook for any accidents, et cetera, et cetera. So I am with NEIS, Nuclear Energy Information Service, and we have a postcard campaign to Senator Tammy Duckworth and Senator Durbin. and we are asking them to oppose HR 3053 if it comes across their desk. I do have postcards I can leave for you guys to sign if you want. The other thing that 350.org is doing, we are having a People's Climate March. Are joining with Climate, Jobs, and Justice, and they've chosen Elwood. Elwood is a corridor along 355 that has a whole ton of warehouse facilities. It's a polluting trucks. It's 2.5 ppm particles per million, and that is only taken. That measurement is only taken at regular traffic routes. It's not taken at the facility. The other thing that, and what we want is them to have electric trucks. We want to have solar on top of the warehouses. And then we are partnering with Jobs for Justice, with the unions, et cetera. So many of those people in those warehouses are part-time labor, and they do, jobs are dangerous. It's at a very fast pace. So that, and it's in Elwood. It's September 8th. I have information on flyers, which I can also leave. What I came to share tonight.
Stephanie, thank you for bringing that information forward. If you could leave anything with staff, that would be appreciated.
Staff is
Right here.
Is he supposed to be participating? What's his name? Oh, it's one that we at the end of the meeting. Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda. Amanda?
The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes, Village Board meeting, July 24th, 2018. Work session meeting, August 14th, 2018. Executive session meeting, August 14th, 2018. B, action alarm monitoring agreement, LTAC and Johnson Controls. Motion to approve a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of an agreement for alarm monitoring and receiving system equipment and services, Johnson Controls Security Solutions, LLC, formerly known as Tyco Integrated Security, LLC. C, action 2018 leaf loading, transportation, and disposal. Motion renewing the 2016 contract with Rainbow Farms Enterprises for the disposal of leaves in the amount of $32.50 per bucket based on 18 buckets invoiced per truckload for a total contract amount not to exceed $35,000, and 2, authorize the village president to execute the necessary contract documents. D, action 2018 crack sealing project. Motion to award a contract to Patriot Pavement Maintenance in the amount of $33,703.26 and authorize the village manager to execute any necessary contract documents. E, action motion to authorize the president and chairperson of the finance committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of operating bills and salaries is itemized in the check registers. F, action motion to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and September 25th, 2018, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its regular meeting to be held on September 25th, 2018.
I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So move.
Second. Motion is second. Demand to call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Rocco?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Amanda. Moving on, next is Village Manager's Report. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I have just one item to report. This week, staff will be sending out over 500 letters to residents in LaGrange Park reminding our residents to take advantage of our downspout disconnection reimbursement program. As the village board is well aware, we do offer a grant reimbursement program available to residents to help them come into compliance with our mandatory downspout disconnection ordinance, which requires that all single-family homes disconnect their downspouts from the combined sewer system by January 1 of 2019. Grant funds are being made available to residents for applicable improvements to their disconnection, rerouting of gutters, rain gardens. There's a reimbursement program that's available. Information is available on the website. The grant program through the state of Illinois, through the iGig grant program, comes to a close on Halloween. So on October 31st, 2018. So these letters that are getting sent out to residents is to remind them that those funds are available until their date. And then after that time, any improvements that are made to come in compliance with the code, they will take on without available grant funds. So we're hoping that residents take advantage of that. And if there's any questions, folks can call Forrest Tucker at the village, stop by and see him, send him an email, or go to the village's website. And with that encouragement, that is all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Administration Committee, Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have a few items to report on and then one item for discussion and action. First is regarding the refuse and recycling survey. Our village, through a contract with Republic Services, provides weekly curbside refuse, recycling, and yard waste collection to single-family homes within our community. The village's 5-year contract with Republic expires in March of 2019, and the village will soon be issuing a competitive request for proposal for a new multi-year contract. The village is seeking resident input on overall satisfaction with the current program in order to help shape and inform the village board's decision-making as it relates to the current program and whether any changes or improvements should be considered as part of this new contract. The survey only takes 3 to 5 minutes to complete, and please visit our village website to complete the survey online or stop by our village hall to complete a paper copy. Your answers will remain anonymous and be given full consideration by the village and staff, and I encourage everyone to take advantage of this survey. We need your input. Second item is regarding the downspout disconnect assistance program. To briefly recap the village manager's report, the village has a mandatory downspout disconnection law that requires all downspouts be disconnected from the combined sewer system by 1/1 of 2019. Downspout disconnection assistance program, as reported, provides incentives in the form of reimbursements to help the owners meet the deadline. Many homeowners have already taken advantage of this program and received their reimbursements. Funding is limited. Reimbursements are on a first-come, first-served basis. In order to be eligible for this reimbursement, disconnection must be completed as reported by Halloween, October 31st of this year. Save the date. The village's annual community cleanup day will be held on Thursday, October 18th. Residents will be permitted to dispose of an unlimited amount of refuge, and that excludes yard waste and brush, but everything else for a total of 4 refuse stickers. It's a great program. Community e-briefs. The village would like to encourage residents to stay connected with what is happening in Grange Park by signing up for community e-briefs, which is our weekly electronic newsletter that is emailed out each Friday. The village currently has over 2,100 subscribers. Residents may sign up for e-briefs by going to the homepage of the village's website, www.lagrangepark.org. And also, I'd like to add that I'm dressed this evening as a final recognition of the highly successful National Night Out, hosted by our first responders, police department, fire department, and once again, for the benefit of our viewing audience at home, recognize the efforts of Matt Fellers, who coordinated these efforts with the assistance of virtually everybody on the staff. But you may have seen this reported in the doings where there were other national nights outs that had in the vicinity of 50 to 60. Our event attracted over 500 residents, and we were very happy of the support and the recognition. So I wanted to take one last opportunity to recognize the efforts of the individuals in this village who conducted such a tremendously successful National Night Out. Thank you. And next item is regarding our upcoming collective bargaining agreement of the Fraternal Order of Police and Patrol Officers. Some background is that the 3-year collective bargaining agreement between the Village of LaGrange Park and the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council expired on April 30 of 2018. The FOP represents the patrol officers in the LaGrange Park Police Department. Following the expiration of the agreement, the village has had discussions with the FOP on the terms of the successor collective bargaining agreement. The village board previously considered a 3-year agreement that would span between May 1st, 2018 to April 30, 2021, where all of its terms, with the exception of the employee health insurance contribution, which will be increased to 17% in year 3, the addition of a post-employment health plan to be offered by the village at the employee's sole cost, and the wages remain the same. The 3-year agreement includes an increase to patrol officers' wages in our village in the amounts of 2.25% the first year, 2.5% the second year, and 2.5% the third year. The membership of the Illinois FOP Labor Council ratified the tentatively agreed upon collective bargaining agreement on August 14th of 2018. Our village staff, in conjunction with our labor attorney, Tim Gare, have prepared a final document for execution following this evening's village board meeting subsequent to approval. The conditions of the final draft of the collective bargaining agreement are consistent with the board's previous review. It's now appropriate for the board to discuss and determine if we should approve and authorize the execution of this agreement. With our packets, we received the resolution that authorized execution of a collective bargaining agreement between the Illinois FOP and our village of LaGrange Park. It also included our collective bargaining agreement that would span the time period of May 1st, 2018 to April 30, 2021. This has been discussed and reported to the board by staff and has finally come out with this recommended agreement. So with that, Mr. President and Village Board, I would like to move to approve a resolution adopting and authorizing execution of collective bargaining agreement between the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council and the Village of LaGrange Park.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. As I commented on, this was an outstanding extended effort both by staff and representatives of the FOP and our officers. And they've kept us updated with this all through the process, and the outcome of this, I think, is very, very favorable for all parties involved. So I would heartily support it.
Trustee Rocco?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, thank you to Village Managers Julia Steo and Chief Ed Rampa and the FOP for, being able to come to an excellent agreement. That's, it's exciting that we were able to do that without having to go through arbitration or any other extreme methods. I do have one question. I don't know if I may end up with egg on my face because I'm reading that. I'm thinking, am I reading it wrong? And it's on page 5, Article 5, Section No Strike. And I'm thinking what we're thinking is any officer that's covered by this agreement shall refuse to cross any picket line. That's the whole idea, is that if they're part of this agreement, they have to refuse to cross a picket line, and we have no officer shall refuse. So I'm not sure if we got it should be any off. I think we mean to say unless they can refuse to cross the picket line, that we want to say any officer part of this agreement shall refuse to cross the picket line, as opposed to no officer.
No, I think that the sentence is correct. It says, neither the council nor any officer covered by this agreement will call, institute, authorize, participate in, sanction, encourage, or ratify strike.
Correct, that's correct. It's the last sentence. No officer covered by this agreement shall refuse to cross any picket line. I think it's any officer covered by this agreement shall refuse. Because isn't that our idea, is that if they're part of this agreement, they got to refuse. So I think that last sentence, when it says no officer covered shall refuse, I think we're saying no officer shall refuse to cross the picket line. I don't think that's what we mean to say. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that double negative, I think it should be
I
any
think you're
officer.
right.
I don't know, I just came ready, I'm like, am I,
Yeah, the double
reading it
negative-
wrong?
the double
I got my
negative is
face if I
awkward.
say this, but I think
Yeah.
it's written
That was a
wrong.
good pickup, Trustee Rocco.
Okay, thank you.
Good
Otherwise,
job.
I'm in support of it.
Any other comments from the board? Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Marsick?
Yes.
Trustee Rocco?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes,
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
and that's all I have from the administration area this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Before I move on to the next report, I just want to make mention, later on in the meeting, I will have my report. And my report is the appointments and reappointments of the Youth Commission members. And I just want to make notice, if first impressions mean anything, this is, first of all, the descriptions of all the applicants are like they're nuclear scientists, having done an awful lot to get where they're at. But when I see a youth commissioner here at the beginning of the meeting, just to represent himself in that his name will be brought forward at the end, says an awful lot. And I'd like to introduce Finton McDermott, who is going to be asked to be placed onto the Youth Commission. Finton, I think it's just wonderful that you came tonight and that you're sitting there by yourself, and this means an awful lot to you, and that certainly shows a lot of character. So thank you for coming. Now, you can go because I know it's a school night. Yes, but thank you, Finton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Zora.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to report the building department activities for July of 2018. 93 building permits were issued in July compared to 86 in last July. 596 permits were issued through this July compared to 518 of 2017. Estimated construction costs for the month were approximately 1/3 of that compared to July of 2017. This appears to be the fact that no residential construction permits were issued this July and only one residential addition permit was issued. Permit fees collected for the month were about half compared to last July. 147 inspections were conducted this July compared to 150 last July. 8 were not approved. Footing and foundation work began in July for the new congregation of St. Joseph building. Work had to initially wait for a soils engineer to test the site and confirm the design soil pressures. A portion of the water main had also been relocated around the front of the site that was completed. Work was well underway at Brook Park School in the month of July. Public Works and building staff met on the site with the general contractor to work through permits, procedures, and requirement for sewer and water work, and to discuss work in the village right away. New fencing went in and was inspected by staff along the north end of the Matone property. This was part of required screening in this area, along with hedges being planted in the area. Following a comprehensive survey of the commercial property located at 704 through 722 East 31st Street by the building department, a list of property maintenance concerns and violations were developed. Staff then met on site with representatives of the property, including the owner, leasing agent, and maintenance staff, to walk the property and identify and discuss the items so the owner can begin to develop a plan to address the issues. So far, they have been very cooperative and made progress already, but work is continuing. That is all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Moving on, Engineering Capital Projects, Trustee Casera.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, I have 5 items to report on. The first item, all roadway improvements for the village's 2018 paving program performed by K5 Construction have been completed. However, some landscape restoration work will still need to wait until weather conditions moderate in the early fall. A punch list for the project is currently being developed. The second item, construction has all been completed on the Harding Avenue project. Since the project is administered through the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, a considerable amount of effort is needed to produce the detailed project documentation required. Some project closeout activities will continue until late fall. In addition, the Sherwood Road resurfacing project was included on the Illinois Department of Transportation June letting. The low responsible bid was submitted by K5 Construction. This is the same contractor that is currently performing the 2018 paving program. IDOT has awarded the contract and anticipates a starting date of August 20th. This project will not be completed during the current construction season. Work on the village-wide patching program. Work is scheduled to occur in early August. The contractor, M&J Asphalt, expects that it will take approximately 3 days to complete the project. There should not be any interruption to driveway access while the work is occurring. The last item, Mr. President, is the specifications for the village's annual crack filling project are currently at the Illinois Department of Transportation for their review. We anticipate bringing this back to the village board for consideration and possible action during the August meeting sequence. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Public Safety Committee, Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will start with the Police Department summary of activities for July. The total number of crimes reported are similar to last year, with a total of 159 incidents through July of 2018 compared to 151 incidents last year. Traffic enforcement is very similar to last year, with 3,436 total citations this year compared to 3,570 last. Total police activity is at 5,790 total incidents reported this year, up to date compared to 5,370 from 2017. The police department would like to personally thank all the residents and business owners who supported us in this year's National Night Out event, which was held on Tuesday, August 7th. In addition, a job well done to Sergeant Matt Fellers and Village Clerk Amanda Seidel, along with special thanks to all the additional police and staff and many volunteers that made the event a huge success with an enjoyable time being had by all involved. The Citizen Police Academy is going to be Thursdays, September 13th through October 11th from 6:30 to 8:30 here in the Village Boardroom. Please contact Officer Chris Dempsey at 708-352-7711, extension 275 for further information. Probationary Police Officer Erin Hansen has successfully graduated from the Cook County Sheriff Police Training Academy on Friday, August 24th, and will begin her FTO field training on Wednesday, August 29th. We welcome Officer Hansen to LaGrange Park PD team. And that concludes the police report. On to Fire Department. EMS incidents this month were 166. There have been 971 year-to-date compared to 985 last year. Fire rescue incidents this month were 28. There have been 250 year-to-date compared to 277 in 2017. 12 new candidates began employment as paid-on-call firefighters. 5 will begin the Fire Academy in August, 5 will begin EMT training in August, and 2 already have our required training and will begin a formal employment probationary period. We welcome each of them and look forward to their contributions. Fire sprinkler plans were approved for the building located at 1905 East 31st Street, where a new Montessori daycare is being planned to occupy. In addition, we tested modifications made to the fire alarm system at Chemgrout. Personnel participated in Independence Day parades in various nearby communities with our new ladder truck. In addition, on July 13th, we conducted a ladder truck demonstration at Plymouth Place, and they had their chaplain bless the vehicle. Work continued this month on the installation of a new backup generator and a new gear, washer, extractor, and dryer at Fire Station 2. Fire Department personnel are doing most of the work, and the Public Works installed the bollards to protect the generator. The Fire Department assisted with bringing the Little League 11U district guys that we just saw tonight to the team to Memorial Park, from Memorial to Haynesworth Park, where they had a pep rally. And that concludes the fire report and public safety. There are no action items.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Chief, one question. Does the 12 candidates, does that put us at full staff then? Pretty close. What would you feel comfortable with?
No, we're comfortable with it, but 10 of them have a lot of training to go through, and we had one of our tenure so we're always in flux.
And these are all LaGrange Park residents?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
So we're very happy. It's just going to be quite a while till we actually get them up and running, and hopefully they do well.
Great, thank you. Moving on, Public Works Committee, in the absence of Trustee Sheehan, Trustee Messick, would you give the report?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. President. For Public Works for the month of July 2018. Operations, tree maintenance, trimming, and inspections was performed during 109 regular hours. 15 diseased trees were removed by the Public Works staff. Brush pickup continued the first full week in July. Crews made multiple passes through town, spending 126 hours and picking up 200 yards of brush. 9 hours were spent delivering mulch to residents throughout the month as they requested it. 80.5 regular hours were spent on the maintenance of the public works equipment and vehicles. 32 hours were spent filling potholes and patching water excavations with approximately 14 tons of asphalt. Hydrant flushing started on the east side of town and will continue to the center and west side shortly. Mulch was put down on planter beds and around trees at Poets Corner and Edgewood Island. The irrigation system at the Village Hall was repaired due to a valve leak and broken sprinkler head. Street sweeping continued, spending 56 daytime hours. 169 miles of village roadways were swept, collecting 32 yards of debris. 96 day shift hours were spent on building and ground maintenance around the Public Works facility, Village Hall, and along 31st Street. Block party barricades were delivered to requested addresses. 43 hours were spent completing parkway repairs from excavations and removed trees. And work orders were completed with crews removing roadkill, making sign repairs, and attending to resident concerns. There was mechanic maintenance done on various public works, police, and fire vehicles. And then onto the water department operations. Over 338 day shift hours and 67 overtime man hours during the month of July were spent on maintenance and repairs of sewer and water mains. 35,660,000 gallons of water were purchased from the Brookfield North Riverside Water Commission. 1,382 water meters were read in Section 1. 54 monthly accounts and 31 final meter readings were taken. Various inspections, appointments, and service calls were performed. 3 water sewer inspections, 7 meter appointments, and 22 service calls were performed. 15 water bacterial samples were taken. Stage 2 quarterly samples were taken. 159 utility locations were identified prior to excavations. 1 water service line was repaired. 4 water mains were repaired, 2 buffalo boxes, and 2 new hydrants were installed. And that concludes the monthly report. There is one action item. So the purpose is staff is seeking the board's approval to authorize the village manager to award a contract for emergency route welding repair to the water tower. A small drip has become apparent at the point where the riser meets the tank on the water tower. The village has secured the services of Dixon Engineering, which has expertise in water tower maintenance, welding, and painting. They were on site on August 13th and have reviewed 2-year-old video of a prior tank inspection. There is a corrosion on the water tank, which has reached a point where the drip is occurring. The corrosion needs to be removed and steel welded in that location. Dixon Engineering is preparing the specifications to solicit bids from qualified firms with experience in this sort of repair. Dixon Engineering will also be placing a camera inside the tank to confirm the current condition of the interior of the tank. We anticipate having bids in place prior to the next village board meeting. As this work is an emergency in nature, it is requested the village board authorize the village manager to award a contract for water tower repairs in the amount not to exceed $25,000. It is anticipated that the cost will be less than that. Staff will advise the village board when we have secured bids. Staff does recommend this to award the contract, and the motion to be made is to authorize the village manager to award contract for water tower repairs in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Yeah, they're 20.
Okay.
So I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Trustee Messick?
This looks like it needs to be done. I said I fully support it. It's a need to do repair. So before we have bigger consequences.
Any other comments from the board?
So
Trustee Rocco?
Thank you, Mr. President. So even though they were saying about the 25,000, that's what they were saying, we think they should be able to do it for 20. Is that?
All we need is the approval up to 20,000. It was an error. It should be 25,000.
Oh, it should be 20.
It's just an error within the staff memo. That should have been 20.
The upper one, the 25 should have been 20. Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So the motion is correct as it's written.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Rocco?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
That concludes public Public Works.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Finance Committee, Trustee Rocco.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we're 25% into our fiscal year. Fiscal year to date, our general revenue is at 31% of the annual budget and about $349,000 higher than the prior year. Property tax revenue is $252,000 greater than last year, due primarily to the timing of the receipts from the county. Sales tax receipts are 10.7% higher than last year, while the telecommunication taxes are down by 8.5%. Permit revenue is up nearly 14% compared to last year. Intergovernmental revenue is down slightly compared to last year as personal property replacement tax and state use tax receipts increases have been offset by the state's cut to the village's income tax revenue. Charges for services are down about $29,000 due to lower ambulance fee receipts. Fine revenue is up over 32% compared to last year due to a large court fine receipt and local debt recovery program receipts. Miscellaneous revenue is higher due primarily to the increase in lower tower fees. The total fund expenditures are within expectations at 22% of the annual budget and about $19,000 lower than last year. That concludes my report, and there are no action items. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Rocco. Commercial Revitalization Committee, Trustee Casera.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Commercial Revitalization Committee met on Thursday, August 23rd in the 31st Street Barnesdale TIF and BD Business Development District. The focus of the meeting was to evaluate current pedestrian amenities and existing streetscaping elements and discuss potential improvements to the district. We have similar upcoming meetings of the Commercial Revitalization Committee, which will also serve as field visits. And the next meeting scheduled is Thursday, September 13th at 6 o'clock at Bill's Place and October 1st at 6 o'clock at Panera Bread. A fourth meeting to be held at Matone is currently being scheduled. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Casera. Other reports, Village Clerk,
I have nothing to report, Mr. President.
our Village Treasurer,
No report tonight, Mr. President.
our Village Engineer,
No report, Mr. President.
our Village Attorney,
No report, Mr. President.
Committee and Collectors Report. A motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have one item. The Youth Commission is comprised of 10 members who serve a 2-year term. Currently, the Youth Commission has 4 vacancies to fill due to 3 recent graduations and 1 resignation of its members. The village recently received applications from Fitton McDermott, Ryan McAllister, Timothy Sands, and Jacob Myers, who are interested in serving. Mr. Fitton McDermott has an interest in public policy and working with local governments and wants to pursue an education in a field focusing on sustainability. Mr. Ryan McAllister is involved in several activities, including serving as an executive board member on the Esports Club at Lyons Township High School. Mr. Timothy Sands is a chosen member of District 102 Superintendent Student Council and actively participates in discussions with adults offering his perspectives and ideas. Mr. Jacob Myers has participated in many activities, including Future Problem Solvers of America, an application-based extracurricular activity in which a group of 15 students work together to apply problem-solving skills to real problems in the community. Based on their community involvement and interest in serving on the Youth Commission, the village recommends that the following candidates be appointed to serve on the commission for the terms detailed in the motions: Flinton McDermott, Ryan McAllister, Timothy Sands, Jacob Myers. Additionally, there are 3 members whose terms expire on September 1st. Staff has confirmed their interest in reappointment: Julia Revan, Emily Angelis, Clark Anderson. With that, I'd like to ask a trustee to make a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Mr. Fenton McDermott to the Village of LaGrange Park Youth Commission for a term to expire on September 1st, 2019, and to appoint Mr. Timothy Sands, Mr. Ryan McAllister, and Mr. Jacob Myers to the Village of LaGrange Park Youth Commission for terms to expire on September 1st, 2020. Motion 2, to reappoint Julia Revan, Evie Anagnos, and Clark Anderson to the Village of LaGrange Park Youth Commission for terms to expire on September 1st, 2020.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Do you need a second for motion 1 and motion 2? They need to be 2 separate motions, or?
No, we can package them together,
Okay.
can't we?
Yes.
Okay, I have a second then?
Second.
Yes? Okay, discussion, trustee Messick, any comments?
Especially with Fenton being here tonight, we see the commitment. No, these are outstanding candidates, like you said, reading it before. It looks like who's of academia, so I support all of this.
Yes, as the board reviewed the resumes, they are outstanding individuals, and it'll be an advantage, certainly our point to put them on the youth commission and learn from their expertise and hear their points of views. Any other comments from the board? Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Rocco?
Yes.
Trustee Casera?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next is public participation of non-agenda related items. Anyone care to address the board? Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.